The Fox City SCORE chapter and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences from starting to sustaining growth. Learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you missed anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at biztalkwithscore.com. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning and a happy day before St. Patrick's Day to all of our listeners. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. And this week, joining me as co-host is Rick Sense. How are you, Rick?
I'm doing well, Terry. Top of the day to you.
Thank you. And of course, I'm Terry Pinch, and we're thrilled to have you joining us this week. This week, we have a unique and rapidly growing business, and it's our guest is Tricia Hermsen. How are you, Tricia?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Good.
Okay, so before we get into Tria frog treats, let's talk about you and your background and what got you started in doing this type of thing.
So, I spent about 8 years in the manufacturing industrial construction field here in the Valley, and really found my passion for continuous improvement, lean initiatives, and a lot of Six Sigma stuff. So, as well as analytics. So I'm a self-certified data dork. I love looking at data, and really got into it when I was put under a lean sensei mentor that really opened my eyes to how we could improve things. Like, nothing is ever perfect. There's always room for improvement. And unfortunately, I was relieved of that job. And I had learned a lot along the way as far as process improvement. I designed and built a software there as well for the fabrication process, kind of bringing all those pieces together. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had been there, like I said, for 8 years. It was kind of one of those things, like, what am I going to do? My career was my identity. And to move forward out of that, I decided that I would go get my own certifications. So I'm Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certified, as well as some other couple of continuous improvement certifications that I picked up, and just thought I'd use the time off to focus on myself and really find, what I wanted to do with, I always joke, when I grow up. And that led me to, I wanted to finish out my bachelor's degree and business management, organizational leadership. And what that really focused on was how businesses in corporate America, why they do the things that they do, why management does the things that management does, and how that works in different types of organizations. In all transparency, that led me to the decision that I did not want to be stuck in a cube for the rest of my life. I wanted to be able to apply my creativity and ideas to something I was passionate about, and started looking. I've always had hobbies and stuff like that, and so when this opportunity came up to, I'll say, expand what I was doing already at home with the freeze drying business, I jumped headfirst in, and here we are.
So let's go start with that. Describe what the products you make are and what it means for customers.
So we take various type of things, such as candy, cheesecakes, cheese curds, ice cream, fruits and vegetables. And for the candy, it really turns them light, airy, and crunchy. So it puts them under a vacuum with some heat, and it blows them up. So you get like almost a melt in your mouth kind of experience. Without that moisture in there, it really enhances the flavor. Very popular on our menu as our cheesecakes. And they're like, I describe them as a cheesecake cookie. So they're like a dense cookie with a really big crunch there. So those have been super popular. We make kind of a spin-off of like a corn nuts with flavored corn, which is popular at different events, ball games, stuff like that. And then, the healthier option, we do offer 4 different fruits right now as well. So it's a whole another experience in texture eating. We have found different demographics unintentionally that prefer these crunchy textures over the natural texture of a chewy candy, or I'll say it like a mushier cheesecake. So it's been very interesting to learn all about that and how different people and consumers prefer their foods.
Okay. So I have to ask, what made you decide to freeze dry something?
Well, the whole backstory of this and the reason why I originally bought a freeze dryer is so I'm a self-admitted, I do have ADHD and I forget about things when my world gets crazy. So, but I love to make soup. And I would buy my celery and I'd stick it in my fridge and I'd go to make my soup and I'd pull my celery out and it's in that bag and everybody knows what that looks like when that celery is past its prime. And I was on a canning website and I was like, there's got to be a way to preserve this. You know, I'm thinking dehydrator or looking for what other people are doing. And somebody posted, well, why don't you try freeze drying it? And I was like, I looked at him like, that's brilliant. I messaged my husband, we're buying a freeze dryer. So we started, bought the freeze dryer. I started doing celery, carrots, and onions for my soup mixes and started doing the things out of my garden, tomatoes, pasta sauces, just played around with it for at home. And, that freeze dryer sat there, you know, kind of doing that work for a while. Until we were able to do it and sell to the public, which when it got really exciting.
So what does a freeze-dried piece of celery just look like a normal piece of celery?
Pretty much, yeah. It just doesn't have the water content in it anymore. So I would say the stuff that people are most familiar with, it looks like dehydrated. It's just a dry, like if you get a soup mix, that's what it looks like. But there is next to no water in it whatsoever.
So your business, Tria Frog Treats, really started almost as playing and
pretty much, yep,
and doing stuff you liked and had fun with.
Yeah, exactly. It started literally as a hobby, side thing, just a way to preserve my vegetables for making soup.
And I'm assuming you started giving it to friends.
Oh, yes. Well, we gave, you know, you couldn't sell initially until December of 2022. So we could give, you know, my friends wanted Skittles, my kids wanted Skittles, and that's, you know, all the rage. So we started with that. And I got a Facebook message at the end of 2022 when we were on vacation in Tennessee that it became legal to sell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, all right, I got to look into this. You know, where is the regulations for this? How does that process look? You know, all of that stuff. And found out, yep, as long as you have proper labeling, you can do it from home. And so we really started just posting on Facebook, hey, we have freeze-dried candy.
But what made you think of freeze-drying Skittles?
So I'm a thorough researcher. So I joined many Facebook groups, was out there looking at what people were doing. There is kind of like this core candy that anyone, I will say almost anyone, if they are selling candy, starts out with. And it's this list. It's Skittles, you know, Nerd Clusters, Jolly Ranchers. There is like the top sellers that you will start with. So that we started there too, and learn your freeze dryers because they're all like, I equate them to all like your home ovens, like everyone's oven is different. These freeze dryers act in the same manner. We actually have ours named, so we know who, I say who in quotations, because who, like which batch is going in which one, because there's some of them have better capabilities and stuff like that. So it's just, you know, it was fun to kind of go through that process as well of discovering that we can do this, start selling it, and what the heck.
So you decide to sell it, you know, from your kids and family and others sampling it that there was people that were going to like it. How did you go about selling it? I know you got a food truck. Was that the first step?
No. So the first step was just Facebook. We started on there. I did that for a couple months. And then sitting and brainstorming, all of a sudden one day, I'm like, well, what if we didn't have a store front at the time? So it was, how do we get this mobile and in front of people? And I'm like, well, let me back up for a minute. I was looking to be able to do commercial, which means you have to have a commercial kitchen. So my out of the box thinking led me to, what if I bought a food truck, I put the freeze dryer in the food truck, and could I get that licensed as a commercial kitchen? The answer in Wisconsin is no. You cannot have a mobile food truck because you need somewhere for your water and all of that waste that goes out of there. So I stuck with the food truck idea. So this would have been in February of 23. Messaged my husband, said, hey, I found a bus in Chicago. I set up an appointment to go look at it next weekend. And we went down, picked it up. I had no idea how to ever drive something this big in my life. So the bus's name is Bart. So Bart, we hop in Bart, and we drove home from Chicago to Wisconsin. My husband followed me. And it was a sketchy ride, let me tell you, because he needed some TLC. So it was loud, it was bumpy. But then, we went from that process to having, to wrap it, be visible. And if anyone has ever seen our bus, you cannot miss it. It is bright, it is shiny, it is out there, and that's exactly what we wanted to be seen.
And so we're in February when you're doing this. I know by about mid-year, you were named one of the most popular food trucks in the Valley, correct?
Correct.
So that took about 4 months.
Correct. Yeah, it was very insane, the following and I'll say the attention that we got, being out there. And, the February, from February to April, because we signed up for Fox Valley Food Truck Rallies. That was my first step in getting that bus out to events. So in that time, I just said, okay, if we get 10 events, I'll be happy. We can always sell online or whatever. And so April 18th was our first food truck event. And from April 18th to the end of the year, we did 101 events last year with this bus. It was crazy. My calendar looked pretty, blank in the beginning of the year. And as people saw it and we started building our social media following and we started going and finding events for ourselves, it literally blew up. And you don't want to say that in the freeze drying world, because when something blows up, it's a bad day in your freeze dryer because you have a mess, but it literally blew up. And it's so amazing.
Later in the show, we're going to talk about some of the growth you've experienced from outside the food truck. But initially, as the food truck was growing, you were still selling through Facebook, correct?
Correct. So we had a span there. So we started the rallies April 18th, and that lasted up until May 31st. So on May 31st, I got a message that all sales of home-based freeze drying goods must stop. And I was literally in the middle of an event going, oh my gosh, what do I do? So we left that event and we ended up, contacting the state and saying, what is going on? Where do we go from here? And it was really challenging because we're one of the first ones to kind of push through this type of business in Wisconsin, and they didn't have answers. They didn't have answers on what the licensing we would need was. They didn't have answers on who to contact or what we needed to do. It took a couple weeks for that to, I'll say, shake out. And once it did, it was, well, if you want to continue selling, you need to have a commercial kitchen. And obviously, as someone with, I have less than 6 weeks under my belt selling out to the public, funds were a challenge to find a commercial kitchen in the Valley, as well as, how are we going to pay for that? Are we going to have enough events to cover that? And luckily, I was lucky to find a temporary space that I used for like a month. I got in there. We got inspected. It was great. We started making, more candy, got back on the bus, so to speak, and realized within 2 weeks, there was no way we were going to be able to do this in a shared kitchen environment. We had so much demand, which it was scary. It was really scary at that point because now I'm looking for my own commercial space and, somebody else isn't footing that bill. I'm not just paying a little portion of rent. It's the whole thing. And I joke to people, but in all seriousness, I was like, well, this like place that I was looking at here in Greenville, it's more than my mortgage. Like, are we going to be able to support that? Is that going to really take off, to support that? And bless my husband, because as he saw the popularity that was going, he's like, why haven't you signed a lease already? That happened in June 18th of 2023. We signed the lease for our building. June 30th, we were handed the keys. And by July 5th, we were inspected and up and running.
Excellent. We're going to take our first break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score and WHBY, and we'll continue this conversation after the break.
Welcome back to Biz Talk on WHBY. I'm your co-host, Rick Sense, along with Terry Pinch today. And we are talking with Tricia Hermsen from Tria Frog Treats. But before we get back to talking with Tricia, I'd like to just take a moment to talk to you about Score Fox Cities. Fox City Score serves an 8-county area with offices in Appleton, Oshkosh, and in Fond du Lac. We have about 45 volunteer mentors, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, HR, retail, best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost, confidential mentoring session and or to learn more about the Fox City Score chapter, please visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. You can learn more about how the Score chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to Score. Within a few days, a Score mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, Score is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, please visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. To support small business people, Fox City Score is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Fox Cities, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application, and someone will get back to you to explain more. So thanks again for joining us on Biz Talk this morning, and now back to the show. Tricia, when we last left you, it was July 5th of 2023. So what happened next?
So we open our doors. Literally, if the inspector walks out the door, open sign is on. I'm like, yes, we are open for business. Now we need the customers. How can we get them here? So what we did is we planned for a grand opening at the end of the month there, give us some time to build up some product, because we really didn't, other than what we carried on the bus, we didn't have a lot of product, and I had so many ideas and things that I had seen on different sites and whatnot and wanted to try. So we started with about 10 to 15 products at that time. To give you an idea of where we're at today, I've truly lost count, but at the last run, we are at over 180 different options, flavor options between ice creams, cheesecakes, stuff like that. But we really focused on social media at that point. All right, we are open. We need to drive. We need to drive people. So with my techie background, I looked, of course, for an app to help me with this, because as a small business owner, it takes a lot to get your message out on different platforms, and it's very time consuming. So one of my, we call them life hacks. One of my life hacks is, it's called Loomly, and Loomly, you log in once with them and you can post on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever. There's a Pinterest. There's a bunch of different apps there. So, and it's very self-explanatory. So it really sped up my ability to put out content across all platforms, tell people where we are, come visit us. I also networked with our strip mall neighbors and said, hey, we're here now, we're open. Can you let people know, or can I put a sign up, or, to kind of help that, because they already had the traffic. So at the end of the month, we had invited the Fox West Chamber to our location, and they helped us do a ribbon cutting ceremony, which I was pleasantly surprised last week when Scott walked into our office and handed me the March issue of Fox Cities magazine as we got to grace the cover of that with our grand opening picture. So I was very surprised at that and very honored. So yeah, I mean, we've just, after that kind of happened, we just literally waited for, that customer base to start coming in while we were doing events. So one of the things, if you've ever visited me at the food truck, the purple card I gave to you, it says now open, and we've handed out thousands of them to let people know that we are here in the Valley. Come visit us. Here's, follow us on Facebook. That's where we had put all of our store hours. It was challenging at first because we didn't have typical store hours. It was around my schedule and my events. I didn't have employees, so it was whenever I was available to run candy or make anything. Then I quickly learned that I cannot do this without the help of people if I want to maintain my sanity. So I brought in some part-time folks to really help me during the day and during those events. And we really have molded that into good scheduling, good process flow, knowing what we need to do. Again, using I have like 5 Power BI reports that I use to help manage my business, as far as what we need for every event. So really started taking off from there. Once we had that store location and we could invite people in, that's where it really took off.
We're ready for another break. Perfect spot. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score and WHBY, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Biz Talk. I'm Terry Pinch, and with me this week is co-host Rick Sense, and our guest is Tricia Hermsen from Tria Frog Treats. Before I get back to Tricia, I want to give you a quick update on a couple of educational activities that we have coming up. If you go to our website, score.org/Fox Cities, you'll see a tab near the top of the page for workshops and events. And there's a couple coming up I wanted to mention. These are webinars, live events. The first one is benefits of volunteering with SCORE as a business mentor. That's on April 9th, and we'd love to have more people get involved and be able to coach and mentor our other small businesses. There's a lot of value in doing that. I still do quite a bit of it and really enjoy it. So we'd like to have more people join. So if you're interested and want to learn more, watch the live event, Benefits of Volunteering with SCORE as a Business Mentor, on April 9th. And the other one that's important for all businesses as you grow is how to write a business plan. And so we do have a number of training seminars on writing business plans. This is an opportunity to attend a live event and get a good feel for it, and that's April 4th. So again, go to score.org/Fox Cities, click on the workshops and events tab, and you can select those and many other live events and 500 or 600 taped webinars as well. Okay, so with that, we're going to turn back to Tricia. And Tricia, let's just, before we go back into some of the growth of your business, let's go back to the products themselves. And how do you get the idea to freeze dry something when you have 180 products?
So again, a lot of it is just research. What has worked. So this is newer to Wisconsin, but it's not new to the United States per se. So there have been people out there for years that have done this. So just leaning on their knowledge, searching groups, what works, what are in our capabilities as well, because there's some candies that need to be heated in an oven, which we don't currently have. So we steer away from those. But yeah, a lot of it is, let's just offer this, or can we get this supplied in? Where do we lean on, our suppliers to get that? And then I'll say a handful of our products are customer requests that have now just kind of stuck around because they become popular. So sour wild berry Skittles are an example. We've offered regular Skittles, sour Skittles, wild berry Skittles. Somebody said, "Hey, can you do sour wild berry?" And I said, "You bet. I'll make you a batch." And now we have them on our shelves. So that's another SKU that we sell.
So who is the lucky guinea pig that gets to taste all of these new products?
So we guinea pig customers. We guinea pig obviously I try everything, even though I may not like the flavor. I like to be able to explain it to my, like I'm not a fan of watermelon green apple, but I like to explain it to our customers. So like the green apple rings, they're like a Cheeto, texture. So being able to explain that to customers. But yeah, my kids, my husband. So fun fact, I do not eat a lot of candy. That is not my thing. I'm more on the savory side. So you'll find me with a bag of our Bloody Mary corn on my desk, but very rare will you find me with candy on my desk.
Okay. So what do they taste like? How different are they from the regular product?
So the taste is if not the same or very similar. What happens though is it intensifies that flavor. So the one that stands out to me that I tell people, like a Jolly Rancher obviously has a lot of flavor, but when you freeze dry it, it is like a punch to the face when you put that Jolly Rancher in and it melts on your tongue and you're just like, whoa, like, I mean, it's almost indescribable because it is like this wave of flavor just punching you in the face.
And with a commercial kitchen, you obviously have hygiene and safety rules. Is there any concerns about product safety with freeze-dried products?
So absolutely. I mentioned earlier that we were one of the, first, I don't know, what do you want to say, pioneers of this in Wisconsin. So that was a big concern of the state, making sure that there's, safety, is being followed. So last year when we wanted to do our dairy, so such as cheesecakes and ice cream and cheese, we actually had to get a food or a dairy plant processing license in addition to our food plant processing license, which includes tracking everything in case lots are recalled. Dairy is, obviously dairy is taken very seriously in the dairy state. So we need to make sure that, it's being processed correctly because it is a food. It's not just a shelf stable item. Temperatures have to be maintained and it has to be processed correctly. Otherwise it will become spoiled and could make you sick. So sanitization, our procedures for that in our shop, in our machines, as well as handling is very important.
Okay. So you mentioned you like the savory. Are the candy the most popular thing you sell or do the fruits, vegetables, and dairy do well too?
Candies, we have candy lovers, from that range from 2 years old to 90 years old, customers that I have. So, those, there's different demographics for different candies, I will say. It's been fun to find those niches. I have a definite demographic for our bit of honey because it doesn't get stuck to your teeth or dental work.
So let's get back in. We're going to get back and talk about the selling of the products because you went from within 1 year of selling on Facebook to selling in a food truck to selling in a retail store and to selling online. And we didn't talk a lot about the online yet. So first let's go and talk about why you moved in October of 2023 because you hadn't done enough for the year. I guess you were bored or something and wanted to figure out how to fill some time. Why did you start to sell online?
So yeah, we started selling, we had our website so everyone could do a pickup order, just our normal website. But I really started looking into that planning ahead. We are now, food truck season's coming to an end. We don't have many events planned. I need another revenue channel to make sure that we can pay the bills, to make sure that it's sustainable and I have enough cash flow for, the beginning of 2024 to do, for event fees and whatever. So I started looking into selling on Amazon, and picked our most popular, I'll say adult product, which is our cheesecakes, to start. And just kind of listed them out there, did some research on price point and whatnot. And really, if anyone's ever started selling on Amazon, it's kind of a stumble through to get your stuff listed and make sure it's being seen. So we really focused on that. And we were, for the Christmas season and after, we were very successful. in doing so. So I will say that has really it's really improved our, cash flow for our upcoming events, especially during, the month of January, which is typically slower for retailers. So that helps support us through that time. And we still have decent sales on there as well.
Okay, so in December of 2022, you had one freeze dryer in your kitchen.
In the basement, yep.
In the basement. How many freeze dryers do you have now in your commercial kitchen?
So we have 4, and the original freeze dryer is a Harvest Right medium. And then we purchased 3 Harvest Right extra larges. And just to give you an idea of that, the Harvey, which is the medium, we name everything again. It's about the size of, I will say, a microwave if you turned it on its side. Now the big guns that really do all the workforces that really do all the work. There's Bertha, Bernie, and Beatrice, and those guys do 2.5 times more product than our original one.
Is there an even bigger one out there you can buy at some point?
There is. It's just not that brand. There are bigger commercial ones that the big facilities use, but I don't think I want to go that route. I kind of like where we're at now and the direction that we're heading.
Okay. So if you look at the 4 places you're selling, because we haven't even talked about selling at other retailers yet, and we will, but when you look at those 4 places, how do you balance having the inventory on hand to sell to them, as well as all the other work you're doing selling itself and marketing?
It's a lot. That is, I think, the biggest thing I learned as a business owner is that balance and having that, even work-life balance, being, self-employed. You just never stop working. But I had to learn to ask for help, which I'm not always good at. And I have a wonderful support system. My husband, he does all of our maintenance on the vehicles and the machines and works a full-time job. And as well as running events with me. My kiddos have run events, and, bringing on employees and even my friends that are willing to pitch in whenever necessary. When I mentioned that we moved from June 30th and were inspected and up and running by July 5th, that was because of my friends and family really coming to rally and moving literally everything from our basement to this new location and help setting it up. So they've been huge advocates and are cheering me on, and I appreciate that more than they'll never ever know.
Okay, so in this food truck season, are you still going to be the person going out with the food truck?
I am, yes. We are booking up some very fun events this year. Along with, we'll be at the Fox Valley food truck rallies, which are at Van Zeeland Nursery this year. So I'll be there from when they start April 16th to the end of August. And this week alone, we've just gotten confirmation that we will be doing Strawberry Fest in Cedarburg, Wine Fest in Cedarburg, and today. So you guys are the first ones hearing this other than my employees and my husband. We landed Rock Fest up in Cadott. So I am extremely thrilled to be heading up that way in July as well.
So is there a point where you're going to have to give up doing the food truck and have employees do it for you, or is it too important in the way you sell your business?
It's way too important, to me anyway. I like that personal touch with people. So when I'm out there marketing and talking about the product, I send them to the store. We give them the cards. We get them in there. I would hire more employees in the shop so that I could do what I need to do. I've even thought about, outsourcing some of the services that I'm currently doing, such as, bookkeeping work, stuff like that. So I can continue to focus on that. As we're getting busier, we've had some very awesome opportunities this year already, which are challenging us in the best possible way. So we're looking at, I call it recalculating our route and figuring that out. And we're actually actively doing that right now.
Okay. So as you look at where you spend your time your business continues to grow at the rate it is, do you have plans, because you're a planner, do you have plans for where you can start to move work and when?
Yeah, and that's been a huge thing. I'm always looking to the future. However, what we're coming through today, like February, actually, well, it's been a month today. We got our first order with our wholesale distributor, Bird's Eye Dairy, out of Green Bay. So that's been part of the plan now of how do we support them. Like, and he's mentioned the food truck, the store, the online, our other little wholesalers and small businesses. So that is really what I've been focused on planning for. I'm really one of those people that I like the smallness of my business. I like the personal touch I'm able to give people when they come into the store. They see me for the most part, and we get to have conversations and you build that rapport with your customers. I've been honest with my employees that I think we're at the point where we're profitable. We're providing jobs, and I don't need, I would say I don't need or see that we're going to get a whole lot bigger. We've grown it to a point where I am comfortable with, and with the pieces that we have in place, that is what I'd like to focus on, because customer service and quality are number one for me. And I don't want to grow too fast where we are lacking in any of that whatsoever. So we've been turning down events, unfortunately, so that we can maintain that focus. We've been looking at that, distribution, making sure that as we adjust to that influx of business, that we're able to support that and maintain our levels of quality and personal care.
So because you're selling now to other stores through distributors, how do you manage that piece? Are you managing that with limited product in terms of their offerings and only selling certain things?
For sure. So with our distributor, we do two types of distribution. There's 6 products specifically that Bird's Eye carries for us. We have 6 SKUs. And then I work one-on-one with other smaller vendor, I will say, like stores such as the Bulk Foods in Greenville. They were like number 1 sign up on our list to carry our stuff. They can pretty much have any SKU that we carry. It's in smaller quantities. It's stuff that we normally would stock. It helps us keep that inventory turn. However, with Bird's Eye, it's going to be a limited number of SKUs that we will offer for sure.
Okay. And so how are you available across the state in different stores, or is it primarily in this area?
So we're actually available across the country. We've had some other stores in Kentucky, California. We have one up in Minnesota, up by Superior there, that carries our goods. Those are ones that are direct with me, I'll say, direct with Tria Frog Treats. And then as of last week, the distribution area is mainly Green Bay, Door County, Manitowoc. We do have a little map on our webpage of where to find us that you'll kind of see them clustered all up in that region. But that's the rollout was to 18 different locations last week.
Okay. And do you do all the production yourself, or are you having other people help you with that now?
Oh man, I have other people. There is no way that we could do what we do. I'm on the book side. I say that, ordering product, ordering bags, scheduling events, taking care of all the financial stuff. And we have an awesome crew of ladies that keep me in check and keep me like, hey, we're out of this. I'm like, I didn't even look at that report today. Thank you for letting me know, kind of thing. But no, we actually just brought on a couple more part-time people. We love offering flexibility that we can offer as a part-time employee. Some people prefer just, want to work mornings, and they have other things. We have high schoolers that go to school half days. So they come in the afternoon. And it really works for us because that way nobody gets burned out from making so much candy. Last Saturday alone, we processed over 200 pounds. So.
Okay. So as we wrap up this segment, if you look back over the last 15 months, Is there anything you would have changed?
No, I'm a firm believer in you learn from everything. So the challenges were, teaching moments. The mistakes were teaching moments. I think just being able to maybe enjoy the whole process a little bit more. We've been so full steam ahead that I think that just maybe taking a step back. But other than that, for how we've planned and moved forward, I am very appreciative and humbled by the support of our customers.
Okay. And as we're going into the break in our last segment, we'll have a few more questions for you, but it's really good to hear this story and what you've done. It's an amazing period of growth over 15 months, probably far more than you ever imagined. So that's great. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Biz Talk with Score. I would like to thank our sponsors who bring Biz Talk to you every weekend. We couldn't provide Biz Talk without their generous support. Thank you to Haling & Associates. Haling & Associates help small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for taxes, helping you minimize your taxes for this year and beyond. Haling & Associates, personal connection, positive results. And a special thank you to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. If you aren't already subscribing to the Business News, you should. The paper is delivered biweekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. And Tricia, before we go on, could you let people know where they can find Tria Frog Treats?
Yes. Well, you can find our physical location located at N1788 Lily of the Valley Drive in Greenville. You can find us at our first Fox Valley food truck event, April 16th at Van Zeeland Nursery in Grand Chute. Otherwise, you can find us online at facebook.com/Tria Frog Treats. We also have a website for ordering at triafrogtreats.com.
So Tricia, I have to ask this question. Throughout the course of the discussion this morning, it's just this incredible story of one thing after another, after another, after another. But every time you give us an answer, you always talk about, well, in planning this and in thinking through this and in planning that. Can you maybe, for somebody who's thinking about starting their own business, kind of talk about the importance of planning and why you figured out very quickly planning is very important?
Yes, planning is uber important. I, from past life, learned that if you don't have a plan or at least an idea, and flexible with that plan, that you will struggle. So it was baby steps and not taking off more than you can chew at a time. And, we started with the food truck. All right, let's start that. What else can we do? Where do we want to go? And I think Terry has asked, where we're going to go and what we want to do. And it's really thinking about the future and then breaking it down into the steps of how you're going to get there. Because everything for us requires, there's more cash flow is needed. How are we going to get there? How many more events do we need to do to be able to fund, that idea or that project? Sitting down and really going over it. Is it feasible? Is it feasible for us to, do we build a location? Do we rent a bigger location? Those are all kind of things that we need to think about. And you can't do it when you're at that end. You have to do it, months and months before. And not only as a business owner does that save you money, because if you're at the end of it and you have to make a quick decision, usually it's out of, you're desperate. But you can, when you're not under that duress, you can make logical decisions. So, my friends are going to laugh when I say this, but I have a spreadsheet that I put these ideas into, and I revisit this spreadsheet of my goals of where we want to be and ideas I have down the road. I revisit that often. It's intentional. And it's something that I say, you know what, that idea or that, thing has passed because we had this opportunity, but these three ideas are really still in focus. So that's how we kind of run things day to day.
Okay. One thing Rick had said earlier that I think is really important too is he talked about luck, but it's not really luck. Luck happens, but it's the planning that you do that lets you manage the opportunities. And has that been really important for you?
Largely. Without this planning and thinking for the future, and where we want to be, and even certain challenges that have come up and how we're going to address them before it actually becomes an issue, that has allowed me to basically, we call it zigging and zagging. It has allowed me to do that more comfortably. I don't feel like I'm making decisions on the whim, and I always have in the back of my head, life begins outside of your comfort zone. So when making some of those decisions, they are uncomfortable, but it's been worth it.
Okay. Well, you have a great story, and we really appreciate you being on the show. It's been wonderful. For our listeners, you've been listening to Biz Talk with Score. If you want to listen to this show or any of the others from the past, you can always find us on biztalkwithscore.com. Thank you, everybody, and have a great weekend.